Hello, film fans. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast. My name is Martin Harries, your host, and I'm joined by the film encyclopedia man, Boaz Dix. We are a couple of filmmakers on occasion, but mainly can't stop yapping about movies. On this podcast, every episode we pick a topic from a film that's coming out at the cinema or on VOD. Myself and Boaz pick our favourite film from that topic, or team up against a guest and battle it out to decide which film will become the greatest film of all time. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Hello, Podderoonies, or Podsters if you prefer. This is a very exciting one we are doing a spoiler special for, and it is, of course, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Probably film of the year so far for me. And, of course, I'm joined by our very own encyclopedia man of spider people. It's Boaz Dix. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm good, man.
Good. So let's get straight into it then. I mean, this was pretty awesome, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was incredible.
I mean, when I watched it, I was like, is this better than Into the Spider-Verse? I'm not sure. It's like very much on a par for me. Both like 5-star films, I would say.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I will say, like, as much as I mean, I really liked it. And I think there are things in it, especially when you talk about the visuals. Holy shit, the visuals, they really go into it, you know. It looks beautiful. I especially love any scene in Gwen's universe. Like, there's so many different animated styles, but Gwen's, oh my god. But anyway, there's lots of stuff I like. There's lots of great characters. I do slightly prefer Into the first one, though.
Okay.
Like, I think Into the Spider-Verse edges it out for me.
Right.
I think there's two reasons why that is.
Okay.
So, yeah, my two reasons, like, they're not major criticisms. They're just, you know. So anyway, one is, I suppose, I do like how character-driven, like, the film was for a lot of the time. It did take a while to get to the setup, to, like, the, you know, the meat of, like, the plot, I suppose.
Okay.
And, you know, that's not, like, a massive criticism. I'm just saying, like, it got into the plot a lot quicker in the first film. And it's different. It's different. But I do like that, you know, I wasn't expecting that. I thought it was going to go, like, straight in. But you spend a lot of time with Miles. You spend a lot of time with his dad. A lot of time with his mum. A lot of time with Gwen. And even, kind of before anything happens. You know, I do like that, because obviously that's going to, you know, when, like, some very emotional stuff happens, you know, you feel it a lot more and stuff like that. And it's really setting up a lot of big stuff that's going to happen. And you kind of know where Miles is at, you know, because, I mean, it's been a year. So I like that. But I will say I prefer Into the Spider-Verse, that it just kind of hits the ground running. But I do like... It's a different thing, right? It is a different thing, and it feels like a different thing. This is like when it gets going, but there is a slow emotional burn in this. Whereas I feel Into the Spider-Verse just, like, hit the ground running.
Well, I mean, what I liked about this one with kind of the emotional and the story stuff is the fact that you get more of, like, Gwen Stacy's story at the start.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I thought that was brilliant.
Like, with her relationship with her father, that was kind of cool. And you do have to wait a bit to actually see Miles, which was interesting. Because obviously that we've covered Into the Spider-Verse in our latest animation films and episode. And that was certainly one thing that came up, is that, you know, Gwen doesn't really have a backstory like Peter B. Parker.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it doesn't, like, address her past or like, you know, where she's from. Like, they hint at it, but, you know, they never kind of address, you know, what's going on with her. And that definitely, like, corrects that straight off the bat at the beginning of this film. Like, it's very focused on her to start with, you know.
I guess another frustration, like, we'll get into a lot of positives, but
yeah, no, we'll get into positives.
But, like, another frustration for me is the fact that you get another recap of, like, what happened to Miles. I'm like, do we necessarily need that? I don't know. Like,
you don't need it.
You know, everyone's seen the first film. We know what happened. But I guess with movies these days, you've always got to assume that people haven't seen the first one. I mean, why you wouldn't have seen Into the Spider-Verse, I don't know. Something must be wrong with you going into this one.
Instead of a recap, they should have just had like a sort of fourth wall break of, I'm not going to recap it. If you haven't watched it, get out the fucking cinema. Buy the film and watch it. But no, I agree with that. Like, a recap was slightly unnecessary. And also, this isn't like a bad thing because it like makes me excited for the other one, but the fact that the first film had an ending and this one is like a cliffhanger. To be honest, it's the mother of all cliffhangers. You're like, how the fuck is it?
Yeah, it's a great one. It's a great cliffhanger.
Like, how in the hell is he going to get out of this? But I think like those two things combined, I think they're just little niggles are kind of things that I prefer in Into the Spider-Verse. Like, that Into the Spider-Verse got going pretty quickly and it had a conclusion. This has a slow burn for maybe about an hour or so, and it's not a finished story. That said, everything other than that, I loved. I loved the humor.
It's awesome.
It's awesome. It looks beautiful. There's a lot of really great emotional bits. The characters are great. Voice acting's amazing. Yeah, and it looks awesome. And when it really gets going, like, the action is like fucking
insane.
Yeah, it's so insane.
And it's always interesting when films decide to split their story up into two. We're going to have that as well with Mission Impossible, with Dead Reckoning. It's only the first part of the last story for Ethan Hunt. And certainly an example I really loved recently was Dune Part 1, because Paul Atreides at the end of that film, like, he's achieved something. Like, he's overcome this Fremen dude. You know, he kills him and becomes part of the Fremen, and it kind of ends on a very optimistic note. And you could, because obviously they didn't film Part 2. They had to make money before they could do an next one. So at the end of that film, it felt like a kind of an end to a certain part of the story. So it kind of had an ending anyway.
It feels like a complete arc, even though you know there's more.
But I mean, if you're going to do a cliffhanger, do it like this, make it a really like holy shit moment, which this one does for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And especially it makes, like, I knew it was coming. Obviously, I spoil things for myself. But even though I knew it was coming, I was like, come on, just 10 minutes more, just 20 minutes more. I got to know where this is going.
Because it's always interesting with part ones, because, like, certainly in this film, I had the sense that, like, I don't know where this is going to finish. Because you're very much into, like, the second act of this story, and you're just like, okay, I have no idea when this is going to end. So I kind of like that a little bit of just like, I have no idea where this is going or when it's going to end kind of thing. But let's talk more about like the animation styles. You've mentioned one already, Gwen Stacy's world. The first world that we see in this film, I found it was just gorgeous. Like, I love this whole like watercolor feel to the world where the colors like blur into each other and into the lines and the textures. But what I loved even more is the fact that, like, the quieter scenes where Gwen is just talking to her father, Captain Stacy, it's almost like a mood ring you had as a kid. Like, the colors in the background like change to suit what the characters are feeling.
Yeah.
And sometimes the colors on the characters change as well. There's like a moment where the captain is like colored like pink and bright green.
Yeah.
And somehow it works really well. Then when you go back into like Miles Morales' world, it feels kind of normal in comparison. So I love that.
Yeah, I won't get enough of it, but like, I absolutely adore Gwen's world. Like, I could watch a series in that world. I wish they just hung out there. Yeah, it is gorgeous. Yeah, and what you said, the watercolors. The next sort of, a character from the next character from a different world is like a fight between the Vulture, who's like a Renaissance painting. So it's done in this like one of the sketches of Michelangelo or something.
Da Vinci.
Leonardo da Vinci. That was quite funny.
He's all like brown and sepia.
Yeah.
And I kind of love, because they kind of do the title card things on there of like his drawings that come up, like fixing the wings or whatever. I found that was quite funny.
Yeah.
The Indian world I thought was kind of like a combination of like Gwen Stacy's world and Miles Morales' world, so a bit more kind of textured, but again, some blurry colors in there, which kind of I felt was really interesting. Like, I found the story quite unique, actually, when you get into the meat of the story, because there's a lot of, like, emotional character development with, like, Gwen Stacy and her father and Miles with his parents, and Miles struggles to know when the right time is to tell them he's Spider-Man, and I thought that was contrasted really well with Gwen, because she was forced to reveal that she's a Spider-Woman to her father. So, you know, and he ends up giving up being a captain. So you have like Miles's father celebrating the fact that he has just been promoted to captain. Then it plays into this story with the core events, the canon events in the multiverse. You know, Miles's father is supposed to die, or his world could potentially collapse and destroy the entire Spider-Verse. You know, we know in previous Spider-Man films that Gwen Stacy's father dies as a police captain, but in this, he's not a police captain anymore. So what does that mean for Miles' story and Gwen's story? So it's just really interesting how they're kind of playing with expectations and what we kind of already know, you know, for Spider-Man's story. And like with Miguel O'Hara as Spider-Man 2099, firstly, he's supposed to be like a vampire in this, apparently.
Yeah.
So, which one, I was like, this is like a massive red flag, as he's the leader of the Spider People. Surely this isn't right. So it's interesting they don't really go into that, really. You just kind of have this silhouetted shot of him with fangs.
Yeah, with fangs.
Fighting the vulture from the Renaissance. So that was interesting that they don't really come back to that. I wonder if they'll explore that in Beyond.
Yeah, I thought his character was pretty interesting, because like everybody like treats him as like a sort of grouch, and he's like overly serious and kind of menacing and stuff. But like when you learn his story, he tells, you know, Miles like why they've got to kind of let his dad die, which of course Miles is not going to be fine with. I do like the story reason they give that, you know, and they do make you feel for Spider-Man 2099. Like, he's not doing it because he's malicious or evil. Like, he's tried this route, you know. He's tried to, you know, to save everybody, you know, to fuck with the natural order, and that led to an entire universe collapsing. So it's like, you know, this isn't personal. This comes with the territory. But yeah, but at the same time, he is pretty condescending to Miles. Like, I kind of like that.
It's interesting because obviously he kind of, I think the way I saw it is the fact that Miguel O'Hara died in one particular universe, and he replaced him with a happy Miguel, and that universe collapsed. So obviously that kind of fucked him up, and made him how he is.
But I don't think it's necessarily the replacement that led to the collapse of the universe. It's more that he saved that Miguel's family, and he prevented any bad things from happening to that Miguel's.
Yeah,
which you can't do. Like, you know, as I said, like as they say, a Spider-Man has to lose a family member and has to lose, you know, the New York City police captain. Like those are like events that must happen.
Yeah. Canon events, as they call it. So for him, like, everything has to be in its place properly. So that works like really well when like Miles Morales is not welcome in the spider lobby, like, because we find out that the radioactive spider from Earth 42 bites Miles, you know, isn't in his universe. So in Miguel's eyes, Miles was never meant to be Spider-Man. You know, Miles doesn't count as a Spider-Man in his eyes. Yeah. So I kind of love that last cliffhanger scene too, because it dawns on you that Miles that was revealed as the Prowler was supposed to be the Spider-Man in that world. So it kind of reinforces this idea from the first film that anyone can put on the mask. Yeah, which I expect they'll go into more in Beyond the Spider-Verse. So it's just a really interesting idea there that we have never really seen before.
Yeah, also like the reveal that he was in the wrong universe. I thought that was handled really well.
I found it was like really clever because the film establishes that when they go into another world, like the animation style is always different to the last. So when the film sets up Miles coming home at night, he's about to tell his mum the truth that he is Spider-Man. You see Gwen Stacy looking on the outside of his building, looking into his bedroom. So you're expecting Miles and Gwen to meet up again, but no. Gwen sees an empty room and sees Miles' real parents, and Miles sees another Uncle Aaron, and of course another Miles. This world looks similar, but it's more green and red tones, and you would assume it's the same, but it's just all at night. So I loved how the animation style kind of tricks you into this situation. It's so clever.
Yeah, and I do like that because the way they do the reveal, it's kind of, he gives this serious speech about like he should tell them and he's Spider-Man and he's gonna save his father and all this stuff. And then when he's like, I'm Spider-Man, and then her reaction is like, who's that?
Yeah.
There was like a huge laughter from the audience because I think you just assume like maybe she's just not caught up on things like that. So the realization goes over everybody's head, but then when he's trying to explain and she still doesn't get it, she doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. And then it reveals from Gwen's side that there's no Miles in that room. And then suddenly, like, it clicks. And then everybody goes from, like, laughing to, like, whoa. It, like, turns it on its head.
Yeah.
So that was a really interesting reaction. Like, two very different emotions from the same revelation. But, like, do you know what I mean? I just thought that was really impressive. To, like, set it up as a joke. But then when it's kind of... like it's clarified, you're like, oh shit, I shouldn't have laughed at that. That's actually like, holy shit, this is life-changing information.
Yeah, and it kind of goes a step further with the fact that you see Uncle Aaron and you're like, oh shit, he's the Prowler, and you assume he's the Prowler. He puts the glove on, and then he's like, nope, I'm throwing it to my Miles. He's the Prowler.
Miles is
and it was interesting. I saw an interesting video this morning that like he could be still kind of a good guy because there's a lot of references to like the Sinister Six in that world, apparently.
Yeah, they say the Sinister Six Syndicate or whatever. I have a feeling he might just be a member.
Okay.
Yeah, so I kind of don't think he is a hero. So, mainly because...
like an anti-hero.
No, I don't think so, because when Aaron thinks Miles is his Miles, and as soon as they're in the hallway... he starts talking about a job of like, how to break into the roof and stuff. So I'm like, clearly he's talking about a heist. So I have a feeling. And plus, if you even say, so there hasn't been a Sinister Six in the movies, like 6 members, but I think the closest you've come is in Into the Spider-Verse, where you have Kingpin and his 5 henchmen. So you got Kingpin, Prowler, was it Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, Tombstone, and Scorpion were all in. So I think they're still probably the top dogs in this one. This is merely speculation, but I think he's just a member of the Sinister Six.
Well, it feels like maybe the Sinister Six runs Earth 42, and like maybe in that world, as the Prowler is maybe trying to do a heist against them. Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, it could be. It could be. Yeah. As I said, it's left pretty vague, but my initial assumption is that he's just a member of the Sinister Six. And, obviously you've got like, how the hell are they going to deal with like Spot? He's seems like fucking all powerful now. And then you've got well, basically, Miguel O'Hara, his Spider team, they're trying to ensure that Spot kills Miles' father. So you got all of this stuff, and then Gwen is setting up her team. Miles is stuck in his world. And as far as I know, he doesn't really have any way of getting back. He doesn't have a armed device. Nobody knows where he is. He's obviously glitching as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of shit, and his father's dead in the 42 universe. I actually reckon so this is what I would do. I would Prowler, I think, is probably going to pretend to be Miles to go to his universe.
That could be good.
That could be cool. So, but the point I'm making is the possibilities are endless. Like there's so much where it's like, just like left up in the air.
Because you've got 3 different groups. You've got the original, Spider people from the first film that Gwen Stacy has recruited in the current universe, I think.
Yeah.
But she has the ability to travel universes with her arm thing. Yeah. And you've got Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hara and his goons. Well, not goons, Spider people. They're all Spider people.
Yeah, exactly. And they're trying to stop Miles from fucking
the core events,
the natural order of order of things anymore. So you've already got like 2 Spider teams that are going to go head to head, and then you've got Miles who's stuck, and then you've got Spot who wants revenge. So you've got quite a lot of shit going on.
I kind of like Spot in this as well. The fact that his motivation is just simply, I just want to be a nemesis to Spider-Man.
Yeah, you called me a loser too many times. I do find that funny. I think when he was introduced, that was hilarious because, he is a fucking loser. Like, he has no idea what he's doing. I like, guy with a baseball bat's trying to attack him, and like how he was trying to get the ATM, and all that whole sequence was just so funny. There's so much.
Yeah, because when he was introduced, when he was announced as a villain in this film, I was a bit skeptical because I was like, "Oh, really? We've seen a lot of people with portal abilities recently, and you've had that with the new Dungeons and Dragons film. They use portals and that, so I'm just like, how the hell are they going to make this different?" But I think they were just like, "Okay, what if we have a portal guy, but he sucks at it."
Yeah,
he's not very good.
Well, so here's the funny thing: when they announced that Spot would be the villain, I think a lot of people assumed that he's going to be the henchman for someone.
Oh, right.
Because, I mean, if you don't know much about Spot, like, he's not an A tier or B tier Spider-Man villain. He's like D-list. And, like, everybody makes fun of him. He is kind of, even though he has, like, a kind of cool power, like Portal, he is really stupid and he's kind of shit at it. He's constantly being beaten or made fun of. So he's not, a big deal. Like, but there are plenty of Spider-Man villains who are, like, D tier. He'd mainly, I suppose, be a henchman. Like, even when you talk about Spider-Man villains, like, was it the Shocker? You get very few where it's like the Shocker is leading things. Usually he's a henchman. So anyway, I just assumed he'd be a henchman. But how they do it is he's like a D tier loser villain who after 2 fights with Spider-Man gets completely tired about being called a loser and like disrespected, even though he's thick and a loser. And he like, the second time he fights him, like, he basically beats himself by kicking his own ass. Yeah, that was hilarious. Like, his foot goes through a portal and he kicks his own ass. But then I like that basically his motivation is to keep amplifying his powers so that he's treated seriously, And I thought that is a really interesting motivation for a villain. It's like, I'm going to be godlike because I don't want to be made fun of. Right, And he basically is going to destroy everything that Miles holds dear because he just made fun of him. And then it's kind of cool that his design as well, because in the third fight he's fighting like 3 Spider people, and he's already been to a couple of universes, and you can see he's way more powerful. Like he's fighting Spider-Man, 4 Spider-Man, Gwen,
the Indian one,
and what was it? The Indian Spider-Man, and the Punk Spider-Man, Punk Rock Spider-Man, and he's fighting all 4 of them, doing a damn good job. And then you're like, I think you're kind of a big deal right now. But then when he added to the other portal, and then it's so creepy that he turns like, because he turns like black with like white doodle spots, and he's like constantly. He looks so freaky, and and his voice becomes like super dark, and
it's like a little child has kind of like scribbled in the middle of the dots, and they just animated that.
Yeah. It looks like kind of like the paranoid doodles of a lunatic or an infant or something. It's just like always changing.
Kind of saw it as well as that he's kind of consuming some of the animation styles in his design.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Kind of.
That's a pretty good idea, Yeah, but I thought that was interesting. Like the times that he shows up, he's stupid.
Yeah, very slapsticky in this action.
Yeah, he's very slapsticky. And then when he like gets the last portal, he's demonic, basically. So, I think for the next film, you're like, how the fuck are they meant to fight him? So anyway, I thought that's an interesting thing to do with a villain. Like, not get a big deal villain trying to get more power, but get a sucky villain trying to be serious.
it did kind of remind me a bit of Everything Everywhere All at Once, that kind of design of the bagel, the really dark black bagel, and that kind of reminded me when I saw the spot in those last moments in that design.
Oh, it's kind of funny because he was hit by a bagel. Do you remember?
Yeah,
what he was saying? Do you know all the bad things you did to me? It's like, that what was it? You got bit by the spider I brought in. You threw a bagel at my head. You blew up the lab. You gave me powers. And now you're insulting me. I like that. It's like, now you're making fun of me.
I really enjoyed Gwen Stacy's relationship with her father in this, and I thought it was quite bold and a worthy decision to basically open the film with her. I just really enjoyed her relationship to Miles as well, with them just enjoying swinging together. They say to each other, have you learned any new tricks? And what I love about the film too is that they show that at times it's kind of just really fun being Spider-Man. You get that real sense of that, and I love that. And it reminded me a lot of the recent video games where it's just fun to swing around this world because it just looks so realistic, and you get that sense in this as well.
Yeah.
I did find myself thinking, though, when they're just talking to each other, Miles and Gwen under the ledge upside down, I was like, so do they have sticky claws on their ass? I don't know how they're staying on there.
Yeah, no, that's true. Because you're not even with her feet. It's just a butt. Yeah.
I found that quite funny.
Yeah, no, actually, that's a good point. Because is the whole body sticky? So, if you kiss them and they're not concentrating, would you rip the other person's lips clean off?
Yeah, you could. Yeah. You really could. If it's going to be on your ass, it's going to be on your lips. It's going to be everywhere.
That's the law of biology. If it's on your ass, it's on your lips. You heard it here.
Wow, if their relationship gets serious, fucking hell. They've really got to concentrate.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, dear. Hobie Brown as Spider-Punk. I kind of really like this character. He's like a rebel type character, but at times I felt his animation style was, it's basically like newspaper cuttings.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Constantly changing, and it did feel a tad jarring at times because he's constantly changing colors.
Yeah, to be honest, I wasn't a massive fan. I understood what they were doing, but I think you're right. Him constantly changing colors and outline as well, the outlines changing.
He did give me a headache a little bit. I was like, oh my God, slow down.
I agree. I do hope they don't go to his universe, or at least spend very little time there, 5 seconds, because I think I'd have a fucking aneurysm or something.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't want to go to Spider-Punk's world.
No, stay the fuck out of there.
Yeah, that would be too intense.
It's way too much. Yeah, I also like how I thought it was funny how jealous he is of Hobie before he meets Hobie.
Yeah. Jessica Drew as the Spider-Woman on the bike. I thought she was pretty cool. She's probably not my favorite Spider person, but I feel like she was basically a homage to maybe Akira. With her on the red bike all the time.
Yeah, that was cool.
I thought she was quite effective when she was fighting the Renaissance Vulture with Miguel O'Hara. That was pretty cool. Pavitra, the Indian Spider-Man.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Pavitra Prabhakar, probably really said that wrong. The Indian Spider-Man, I thought was really pretty cool, actually. I loved the design with the hair.
And he doesn't use any product. It's all natural.
No. And I like, he uses those bangles like spinning tops, like you see those street performers.
Yeah. Because what was it? My cousin used to have one. I think it was called a Diablo or something. And so you had a spinning thing and a piece of rope, and you're keeping it up and doing all these tricks and stuff. And he was doing all that kind of stuff. I think that makes him really unique because there's only so many ways you can do web shooters. And that's Spider-Man's main thing. But I like how they come up with this other idea of he can shoot the web and then fire off the bangle, and the bangle is
used as a weapon.
The end of the web, and he can do all the kinds of stuff with the bangle, it's an offensive weapon and stuff. I thought that was pretty cool.
With the stuff in India, did you have the sense that maybe the action was getting a bit too crazy? Were you I felt a little lost sometimes of like what the hell is going on, and maybe sometimes with the spot action, but the majority of the spot action with Miles I found was okay. The India stuff, I was like, I'm only talking seconds here, but I was just like, I'm not sure where I am and like where all these spider people are in relation to this world.
Yeah,
I'm getting a tad confused, and it took me a few seconds. It was like, okay, now I know where I am, kind of thing.
Where everything's oriented. So I'm trying to remember. I don't think so. The Indian world is pretty busy. Like, there's like several levels. And like they're so populated each level, so it's kind of weird to know like where's the ground, where's the sky. So I kind of get that, but I don't think I got lost in the action. I don't think so anyway.
So obviously, when we were talking about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, there was that scene in the house where it gets very crazy.
Yeah, true. Yeah, where it was very busy. Yeah.
But Mac brought up the fact that I think it's supposed to be like that because Miles is just very overwhelmed, but. Miles is a fully fledged Spider-Man,
so there isn't any like narrative reason for you to be confused in this fight.
Maybe I'm just old. I don't know.
No. It's fair enough. I mean, I could have been confused. I just don't recall. I think it was fairly easy to follow.
But I mean, it goes into this whole thing of just like what we were kind of talking about. When you will hear that we will talk about in Man on Fire. Basically a sneaky reveal there for what my choice will be for a certain episode next week. But that in that one, we talked about the fact that, I talked about the fact that you just kind of see moments of action. Tony Scott is basically picking out really cool moments because you know what you're watching already. You're watching a gunfight. So I guess you have that kind of thing here as well in this film is the fact that you kind of know what we're expecting in the scene. You want lots of swinging, so let's make it as cool and visually stylistic as possible in this really impressive animated world that they've created. Geography in that, maybe that's just not that important in this kind of film, really. Would you agree with that or not?
Yeah, it could be, I suppose. I mean, I'm trying to think what much even happens in the fight.
Gwen? Who the fuck is Gwen?
Square Gwen.
Gwen Stacy, Miles, and the Indian Spider-Man, they prevent a part of the building collapsing onto the bridge.
Oh, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
And I think, Miles is on the bridge and helps save the Indian Spider-Man's father, which wasn't supposed to happen.
I thought this happened after the fight. Wasn't that when the Alchemex exploded and the building fell?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the fight had already occurred by then. I can't really remember too many details of that fight.
Yeah. It just looked really cool.
Yeah. I think the fights I really remember are like the first two fights with him and Spot. Again, maybe because it's much clearer what's going on. And also, I think one of the things actually for the Indian fight is not so much it's too busy, but like I think the background is too busy. And also, they're trying to talk to each other a lot. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot more like him trying to talk to Gwen and Gwen talking to Jessica. And so there's a lot of talking. And like a lot of like comedy flashbacks to, the life of Indian Spider-Man and stuff like that. So it's not just fight focused and stuff. And then, obviously I think one of the greatest fight scenes, which goes on for a while, but it's so cool because of they really, I don't even know if half of these Spider-Men are real or if they're just taking the piss.
Yeah, they are taking the piss.
But like the giant fight where he basically fights every Spider-Man. That was so cool. That was so fucking cool.
Yeah, I think I read this morning that there are 280 animated Spider people and I think 90 Spider-Man characters have names.
That's so cool. But yeah, his fight in the the Spider Sanctuary or whatever, that was awesome. And there's so many cool bits. There's so many like hilarious bits. Yeah. I like where what was it? He jumped on the Spider Horse, and there's like a Western Spider-Man. The Western Spider-Man wants to do a draw, and he's a
web slinger.
Yeah, and he's like. Webb at the count of 3, 1, and then Miles just shoots him straight in the face. He's like, you didn't wait.
Yeah, that was funny.
That was really funny.
Yeah, there's a cat spider.
Yeah, cat spider, T-Rex spider, spider mech.
There's literally a car that's a spider thing. I'm like, really? Wow.
Yeah, and did you see the thing on the corner, which like his name? It was like Peter Parker.
Oh God.
It was so man, that was brilliant. I think I have to watch that scene like 100 times to sort of.
Yeah, that's the scene where you want to like pause every frame.
Oh God,
to actually see every single spider person.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That fight scene was nuts.
And obviously, we see a cool cameo from Donald Glover in live action, which is insane. And you have like Lego elements as well.
Yeah.
That just made this film feel really big in scope. Plus, you see like clips from other live action films. Like this story encapsulates like all of the films. Like, you get this feeling that all the spider worlds we know from all the previous films are at stake.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I feel like what was it? Obviously they've watched No Way Home, and because they even reference No Way Home, which is the crazy thing.
Yeah.
What was it?
That damn Doctor Strange.
Yeah. Doctor Strange and that kid from that Spider-Man from Universe 9999 or something. And you're like, oh my God, they're actually talking about the MCU. Yeah, man. Like, there's so many references to the other film. But No Way Home, they marketed it as the the Infinity War for Spider-Man. And this is like just way beyond that. It's like, it's not only the animated stuff, but they introduced so many other animated characters. I think there was a video game, one of the video game Spider-Mans. Yeah. Many of the cartoon ones that I even grew up with. Spectacular Spider-Man, he was there.
Yeah, that was so funny when like one of the older animated Spider-Mans was like, yeah, I've got him.
Oh, that was fucking hilarious. Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't. Sorry.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Yeah, the one from the 60s where he's like, I'm coming for you. And so it's like, da, 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 and it just has the still. And like he's able to just go straight past him.
Yeah, that was
funny. That was so funny.
You were telling me after the film, like, oh, Donald Glover's in this. Like, the significance of Donald Glover is pretty significant.
Yeah. So basically, there was this whole thing of this show Community. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in Community, which was like in the mid 2000s or something, his character wears like Spider-Man pajamas.
Right.
This caused like a whole thing of people wanting Donald Glover to play Spider-Man. And so that became a huge thing. And Mark Miller, who was writing Ultimate Spider-Man, decided to make his new Spider-Man, Miles Morales, like basically look like Donald Glover, like a young Donald Glover.
Right. Yeah.
And so, so Donald Glover was the inspiration for Miles. And then one of the animated series, Ultimate Spider-Man, had Donald Glover voice Miles Morales. And much later, so they were thinking of making him a live action version. But by that time, he's like in his late 30s. So instead, he played Aaron Davis in Homecoming. And he mentions that he has a nephew, Miles. He's that criminal that tries, that basically Spider-Man interrogates. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
on the car. And so he says his nephew is Miles. Then in Into the Spider-Verse, the first time you see Aaron, he's watching that episode of Community with Donald Glover dressed as Spider-Man. So it's like it all comes together. I think, that's crazy.
That's pretty cool.
The amount of the influence of Donald Glover keeps going into the stream.
Are there any other like spider characters that we've seen in media that you want to see in like beyond the Spider-Verse?
Oh man, like if you could get like all 3 live action Spider-Man again, like to show up, that would be kind of cool. Like that thing from No Way Home where you had like this is one of my favorite things, the 3 Spider-Men swinging. But could you imagine like 3 live action Spider-Men swinging and like thousands of animated ones? That'd be crazy.
Well, they kind of did that a bit in the the advertising for Sky Cinema's like Spider-Man channel. They had No Way Home, but they kind of superimposed, they composited Miles Morales in that as well.
Oh, that
was kind of fun.
Yeah.
When they land, like Miles like lands right in front of them.
Oh, okay, that's really cool.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
I think there's one I don't want to see is like the Japanese one, that Japanese live action one. I'm like, no, let's not have him.
Oh no, I absolutely want to see him. I absolutely want to see him. The historical significance. I think that's like the first TV show with Spider-Man. It's the first like, proper thing with a live action Spider-Man. So that would be interesting. I think, what was it? The Spider-Man from the Electric Company. I think that's the very first time anybody like wore a costume for him. There was also like the Spider-Man TV series, like live action one in the 70s.
Okay.
So I have a couple of episodes of that on VHS. I think that would be interesting. Right. Like, you have to address this guy. Like, I thought it was, they could have done that in No Way Home. That would have been cool. But, you got to kind of address him, Most people don't know about him, but, Although, I would love to see the Japanese one. Like, seriously, if anybody doesn't know about the Japanese Spider-Man, he is so weird. He's not bitten by a radioactive spider. His name is not Peter Parker. He is a stunt bike driver who was given a magical bracelet by an alien from the planet Spider. It's so insane. And not only does he have a suit, Spider-Man suit and Spider-Man powers, but he has a leopard-based Megazord called Leopardon. It's so fucking weird, But Marvel literally gave the license. Like, this is official Spider-Man stuff to Japan. And obviously they never read an issue at all and just did their own thing. It's insane.
Yeah, you've talked me around. Yeah, I want to see that guy now.
Oh man, I absolutely want to see. And like his catchphrase was like, people would go, "Who are you?" And he would say, "I'm an emissary from hell. My name is Spider-Man." And you're like, what? Yeah, no, this guy has got to be in the next film.
Yeah. So predictions for like Beyond the Spider-Verse then. I think I would love it if we get like more live action sequences, like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I'd love to see more of Gwen Stacy's world as well.
Yeah, actually, I thought it was kind of funny because when you have like the live action scenes that get in, I don't know how they do that, because one of the things I was worried is when you see like a live action character, sometimes it can be like jarring. It wasn't that bad.
It was only a few shots, to be honest. And the other bits are just clips, and then you've got Donald Glover. That's it, really.
But maybe it's because you've already got so many different animation styles next to each other, and like CGI and hand drawn. So maybe it's like you're like, it's just another different thing, I guess.
So what do you reckon is going to happen in Beyond?
So I think, like, how I would do it, I suppose, is Miles is going to be trying to, like, I think the Prowler Miles is going to be the one that leaves, and I think, so I'm just making shit up. This is just, I'm making shit up. But I think he's going to be the one that leaves. I think he's going to be thought of as the good Miles. I think he's going to trick Gwen, and he's going to try to go to his world so he can have a father. Then you've got real Miles, I think, is going to try and go after him. And I think the main point would be, at least in my estimation, is to try and get Miles' father to retire as police captain.
Yeah, so he doesn't die.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe to, beat Spot before he's, it becomes official that he's captain. So something like that has some sort of time limit. So, so I think that would be kind of the main thing, I think,
like what you're saying, I think is very, very plausible. I think what will be interesting is like what happens with Spot. Like, how is he going to really like shake things up in terms of like the animation styles? Like, how is, like, certainly going into this, we were all like, how the hell are they going to top into the Spider-Verse with the animation styles? Surely they can't. They can only do more of the same. So. And yet they did.
Yeah. And then so you've got to think, how do they one up it, I suppose. Actually, what would be interesting is if like Spot, because I mean he doesn't have too many interactions with how powerful he is now. He basically became that powerful and then like disappeared. And then the next you see he's in Miles's New York. I think one thing would be interesting is if they get close to him, he fucks with their animation style. Like, that would be interesting. If you see, like, Miles...
Like blurs them together.
Yeah, like, whenever Miles or Gwen get close to their animation style changes, I think that would be kind of cool. So they could go, to like, you know what I mean, like a more traditional anime or a Pokemon style or a CGI or something flickering on and off. And if you do that with every character, that would be intense, So you'd see like every version of like Spider-Man 2099 or Peter, the regular Peter Parker.
And you'll definitely see animators lose their fingers.
Yeah. So I guess that's the only thing I can think of, like how you would try and one-up it, is have like Spot, like just have, something like that. I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah. And I keep thinking of, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, like how, like maybe they could blur some animation styles with live action as well. Like they could really do that.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Right, I think we'll leave it there then, people. Thanks again for downloading the podcast, and thanks again for the Mr. Encyclopedia Man of Spider People for joining me. Thanks, Bowers Dix. Bye-bye.
All right.
That's it for this week's pod. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. But don't stop there. Get involved and tell us what your favourite films are relating to the episodes. Send us a DM or comment on Instagram and TikTok at Film vs. Film Podcast, for Twitter at FVF_podcast. If you do, we'll give you a shout out on the next episode. If you're feeling really generous, you can buy us a one-off coffee at our Buy Me a Coffee account. Remember, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Pod signing off.